Welcome back, everyone, to Stoic Capsule. I'm truly honored that you're here, because what I'm about to share might just be the turning point you've been waiting for, the key to unlocking your true potential and finally living the life you've always dreamed of. We all know mornings matter. They don't just mark the start of another day, they set the tone for your mindset, your energy, and in many ways, the direction of your entire life. But here's a question worth asking. What if the way you speak to yourself in those first quiet hours could change everything? No long lectures, no complicated rituals, just a few words, simple, yet profoundly powerful words that can shift your perspective, restore your sense of control, and awaken the strength that's already inside you. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that is exactly what we're going to explore today. In this video, I'll share with you 15 things to say to yourself every single morning. Affirmations that will help you live with clarity, resilience, and unshakable purpose. Watch until the end. Don't skip a single one, and when we're done, I want you to comment below. I choose to live intentionally. So let's begin. 1. Today is a new beginning. Each morning when the first light filters through your window, it's not just another sunrise. It's a quiet but undeniable reminder you're being given a second chance. Not everyone wakes up with that gift. So when you open your eyes, tell yourself, today is a new beginning. Don't think of it as a cliché. Think of it as a doorway to freedom, to choice, to the belief that yesterday no longer defines you. The Stoics remind us that the past holds no power over us unless we hand it that power. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Yesterday's harsh words, failures, or poor decisions do not decide who you are today. What matters is the choice you make this morning. Picture this. Yesterday you snapped at a colleague over a small misunderstanding, and you went to bed weighed down by regret. But now the sun has risen again, and with it comes a new power, the power to choose differently. You can send an apology, greet them with a smile, or simply decide not to carry yesterday's weight into today. One choice can shift the course of your entire day, and even your life. Every morning is a blank canvas, and you are the artist. Will you paint the same picture as yesterday, or will you create something bolder, calmer, more compassionate? Remember, a new beginning doesn't demand perfection. Sometimes it's as simple as rising from bed, splashing cold water on your face, taking a deep breath, and saying, "I will do better than I did yesterday." Because when you start the day with intention and self-compassion, you're not just shaping a better morning, you're shaping a life of purpose. And it all begins with one choice: to embrace today as a new beginning. 2. I have the ability to do great things. It's far too easy to fall into the trap of self-doubt. When setbacks happen, or when you compare yourself to others, those toxic questions creep in. Am I good enough? Do I really deserve to dream big? Believe me, I've been there and here's what I want you to remember. You are capable of great things not because someone else once told you so, but because that potential has always been alive inside you. It is part of who you are. Every single person is born carrying a unique gift, a spark that belongs only to them. Maybe you've failed before. Maybe people have underestimated you or even made you question your own worth. But none of that erases your true value. Not one bit. Think back for a moment. Haven't you faced challenges before? Haven't you found the strength to rise again when the world seemed heavy? You've endured, you've adapted, you've leaned on resilience and intuition, and you've carried a heart that refused to quit. And if you could do it once, doesn't that mean you can do it again? Not just once, but again and again, no matter how many times life tests you. Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly. Nothing extraordinary is built overnight." Success isn't a stroke of luck or a miracle falling into your lap. It's the quiet, steady result of showing up day after day, moving forward even if it's only a single step. When you truly believe you're capable, something shifts inside you. You take ownership, and then you act. That's the beauty of greatness. It doesn't have to be loud, flashy, or immediate. It's patient, it's persistent, and it grows with time. Think of Vera Wang. She once dreamed of becoming a professional figure skater, but that dream didn't unfold as she hoped. Instead, she pivoted to fashion editing, working at Vogue for 17 long years before joining Ralph Lauren. To many, that might have been the peak of a career, but her real turning point didn't arrive until she turned 40. At that age, while searching for a wedding dress she truly loved and failing to find one, she made a decision to design her own. People said it was too late to start a brand new career, too late to change direction. But Vera didn't let age or doubt define her. She pursued her passion with clarity and intention, building her brand, piece by piece, step by step. And today, the name Vera Wang is synonymous with elegance, refinement, and excellence in bridal fashion. Her journey proves something powerful. You don't need to start early. You just need to start with belief and conviction. So tomorrow morning, don't just stumble out of bed, wash your face, or sip your coffee on autopilot. Pause for a moment. Look yourself in the mirror and say it out loud. I am capable of great things, and I am ready to receive them. Because once belief takes root, the next natural step is action. And that leads us to the next affirmation. 3. I will act today. We all know the temptation to wait just a little longer until everything feels perfect, to hold back until you're more skilled, more confident, or less anxious. But here's the truth. The perfect moment doesn't exist. It's nothing more than an illusion, a trick that delays you from taking the first step. Meanwhile, the only moment you actually control is the one unfolding right now. And if you keep waiting, precious days will slip through your fingers, days that could have brought you closer to your dream. Success, whether it's big or small, always begins with action. It doesn't arrive to those who sit in silence, hoping. It comes to those who move, who try, who dare even when the steps feel shaky, uncertain, or unclear. 3. I will act today. Think about J.K. Rowling. Her decision to act scribbling away in cafes while raising her child alone transformed a single mother into one of the most influential authors in the world. What does her story teach us? That you don't need a flawless plan to begin. You don't need to have every answer before moving forward. All you need is that first step. Every morning when you open your eyes, life is giving you a quiet reminder. Today is another chance. Not necessarily a chance to perform some grand, earth-shaking gesture, but a chance to move forward with small, consistent actions that matter more than you think. So tell yourself, today I will take action. I will not wait. I will not delay. Every step I take today, no matter how small, matters. And I believe each step is bringing me closer to my dream. For I am capable and confident in my ability to handle whatever comes my way today. Picture this. You wake up to a packed schedule. There's an important meeting ahead, a stack of unanswered emails, a decision you've been putting off. Instantly, your heartbeat quickens. Anxiety slips. Any doubts creep up. Can I really handle all of this? That's the exact moment to pause. Take one deep breath and remind yourself, I am capable, and I trust in my ability to handle whatever comes my way today. Life never promised us an easy road. Some days flow smoothly, others feel as though every force is against us. But that's precisely why this affirmation is powerful. It doesn't deny the struggles. It doesn't pretend you'll always know the right move. What it does remind you of is this: you've overcome so much already, and today is no different. In Stoic philosophy, strength is not about dodging adversity, it's about meeting it with courage and mastering your response. As Epictetus taught us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You don't need to control every external event swirling around you. You only need to control yourself, and that you can do. So when today brings its challenges, a rejection, a tense conversation, a difficult choice, remind yourself that you already carry the tools to face them. You have resolve. You have reason. You have calm. These qualities have always been within you. They only need to be called upon once more. And remember, confidence is not arrogance. It's the quiet, steady belief that, whatever comes, you'll figure it out. You don't need to see the entire path right now. You just need the courage to take the next step forward with a steady mind. That's why each morning, your very first step is this: I am capable, and I believe in myself. If you've ever had a day that began with self-doubt but ended in triumph, share it in the comments below. Say it loud: I overcame myself. Who knows? Your story might be the one that gives someone else the strength they've been searching for today. 5. I am grateful for my health, my loved ones, and the opportunities I have. Each morning when I open my eyes, I remind myself of this. Not because life is always easy. Not because everything is perfect, but because as long as I can wake up, as long as I can breathe, as long as I can look up and see the sky, I still have another chance. Gratitude doesn't always come naturally, especially when life feels heavy. It's not just a feeling, it's a choice, a practice, sometimes even a radical act of resistance against the weight of hardship. But here's the paradox. It's in our darkest, hardest moments that gratitude shines its brightest light. Take health, For example, many of us never fully appreciate it until we lose it. But think about this morning. You woke up without pain. You're not lying in a hospital bed. You're not hooked up to machines. Isn't that a gift worth acknowledging? Everyone has at least one person who cares enough to check in, to ask how you're doing, or to simply listen when you're worn out. And every opportunity, no matter how small, is proof that you're still in the game of life. Think about it. How many people no longer have that chance? A powerful example of gratitude in action is the life of Nick Vujicic, a man born without arms or legs. At just 10 years old, crushed by hopelessness, he wanted to end his life. Can you imagine how heavy that must have felt for a child? But then, instead of drowning in what he lacked, Nick made a choice. He chose to be grateful for his sharp mind, his strong heart, and his unbreakable spirit. Gratitude was the force that carried him forward. It didn't just help him survive. It empowered him to inspire millions of people across the globe. He went on to get married, raise children, travel the world, and share his story with countless audiences. His life proves a simple truth. When you live with gratitude, you live deeper, stronger, and you reach for things that once seemed impossible. So each morning, no matter the weather, whether the sky is bright and full of promise or gray and heavy with storms, pause for a moment. Tell yourself, I'm grateful for my health, for the people who love me, and for the chances, however small, that I'm still given today. Gratitude won't magically erase your struggles, but it will give you the strength and perspective to face them with a steadier heart. 6. I am not afraid of failure. Looking back, one of the things that held me back the most wasn't a lack of skill or a lack of opportunity. It was fear, the fear of failing. I once avoided starting a project simply because I was terrified of getting it wrong. I turned down a job offer because I convinced myself I wasn't good enough. Sound familiar? But then one day, after too many times of holding myself back, I sat down and asked the question that changed everything. What's the worst that could happen? And to my surprise, the answer wasn't nearly as frightening as I had imagined. Failure wasn't the end. It wasn't a wall. It was simply a comma, a pause, a moment to step back, gather strength, and push forward again. We're often taught to avoid mistakes at all costs. But if you look closely, no great achievement has ever come without scars. Every successful entrepreneur has tasted bankruptcy. Every great artist has faced rejection. Every wise soul has been painfully schooled by life itself. So why do we treat failure as something shameful? I remember my first big failure vividly, a small business project where I lost every bit of my savings. At the time, it felt crushing. But what I gained was far more valuable. Lessons in patience, management, and courage that no book could ever have taught me. That failure didn't destroy me, it shaped me. And slowly, I began to understand something deeper. God doesn't place failure in our path to punish us. Failure is there to teach, to mold, to build patience, resilience, and inner strength. What feels like a dead end may actually be His way of preparing us for the next chapter, guiding us quietly even when the destination is still hidden. Failure isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign that the process is unfolding. Maybe it's through those stumbles that we finally learn how to walk with steady faith, trusting that we are being led to the right place at the right time, to become exactly who we were created to be. So now, every morning, instead of fearing failure, I welcome it as a necessary part of the journey. I choose to move forward even when I'm afraid, even when I'm uncertain. And I remind myself, I am not afraid to fail, because failure is simply part of the path to success. And I hope you'll say the same to yourself starting today. 7. I will face today with a positive attitude. In 1962, Nelson Mandela walked into Robben Island prison carrying a life sentence. For 27 long years, he was locked away under brutal conditions, tiny cells, hard labor, isolation. He had every reason in the world to become bitter, angry, and hopeless, and yet, each morning, within those suffocating walls, Mandela made a choice. He chose not to surrender his spirit. He chose to face each day with courage and, most importantly, with a positive attitude. Mandela once said, "I have learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it." That mindset became his light in the darkness. It kept him alive. It made him a living symbol of forgiveness, of inner freedom, of the power to rise above suffering, and eventually lead an entire nation. Now, maybe you and I are not imprisoned in the same way. But let's be honest, modern life has its own invisible prisons, doesn't it? The crushing weight of work pressure, the endless expectations from family, the constant stream of bad news on social media, the setbacks that seem to come out of nowhere. And in that reality, there is only one thing you always have control over: your attitude. You can't steer every event that comes your way, but you can choose how you respond. When you begin your morning with a positive mindset, you're not pretending that problems don't exist. You're not denying reality. Instead, you are choosing to face it with hope, with intention, with courage. A positive attitude isn't naive. It's powerful. It's the voice inside you saying, "Yes, this is hard. Yes, things might go wrong. But I refuse to let this define me. I will rise, and I will keep moving." And the most beautiful part? When you decide to stay positive, you don't just change the quality of your own day, you radiate that energy to others. Your family feels it. Your co-workers notice it. Even strangers crossing your path catch a glimpse of that light. So if you've made it here through the first half of this video, let me pause for a moment to thank you. It tells me something important. You're not just watching passively. You're taking real time to rebuild from within, to strengthen your mindset, to choose awareness, action, and inner strength. Thank you for being here, and I truly hope you'll stay with me until the end, because what's coming next is even more meaningful. 8. I will treat myself kindly. When we think of kindness, we usually picture something we extend outward to friends, to strangers, to loved ones. But here's the truth. Kindness is just as vital when directed inward. In fact, treating yourself with compassion is the foundation for living with balance, health, and resilience. Being kind to yourself means understanding your flaws, forgiving your mistakes, and supporting yourself the way you would a dear friend. Yet, ironically, many of us do the opposite. We say harsher words to ourselves than we would ever dare say to someone else. Think about it. How many times have you missed an appointment, forgotten a detail, or failed to meet a goal, and instantly the voice in your head went, "I'm terrible. I'm lazy. I'll never get it right." We become our own worst bully. Meanwhile, if a friend made the same mistake, we'd probably comfort them with patience and encouragement. Why don't we offer ourselves the same grace? In Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Self-kindness begins right there, with your inner dialogue. Instead of punishing yourself, ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I make tomorrow better than today?" For example, imagine you've fallen behind on your exercise routine. Instead of saying, "I'm so lazy," try reframing it. "I slipped today, but tomorrow is a new chance. What small step can I take to get back on track?" That shift may seem simple, but it changes everything. When you practice kindness toward yourself, you stop wasting energy on shame and self-hatred. That energy can then be redirected to growth, to improvement, to living with purpose, and over time, it transforms not only how you see yourself, but how you treat others. Reframing mistakes is powerful. Instead of saying "I failed," you might tell yourself, "Maybe I set the bar too high this time. Today I'll try again, even if it's just for 10 minutes." That small adjustment in thinking turns guilt into growth. Self-kindness also reveals itself in the little, ordinary acts of care. Taking a rest when your body begs for it. Saying no when your schedule is already full. Cooking yourself a comforting meal after a hard day. These aren't signs of weakness, they're proof that you value yourself enough to listen to your own needs. Every one of these moments is a quiet reminder you are worthy of care, even in your imperfect moments. So each morning, take a breath and affirm, "I will treat myself with kindness because I am worthy of love, patience, and forgiveness from myself." 9. I am responsible for my own happiness. Most of us are raised to believe happiness is something we must chase: a bigger paycheck, the right partner, the perfect life event that finally makes everything fall into place. And yes, we achieve some of those things. But have you noticed? The happiness they bring doesn't last. It flickers. It fades. Why? Because when happiness depends entirely on outside forces, we've handed away control of our emotions. We've allowed something else, something fragile and temporary, to dictate how we feel. The Stoics offered a radical alternative. Happiness is not about what happens to you, but about what happens within you. Epictetus put it clearly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. I once had a friend named Cindy. Her story still inspires me. She went through a brutal season of life, a painful breakup, a sudden job loss, and no family nearby to lean on. Most people would have collapsed under that weight. But Cindy did something remarkable. Each morning she sat down and wrote 3 simple things she was grateful for: a warm cup of coffee, A sunny afternoon. A good book that helped her escape for a while. Slowly, her perspective shifted. Not because her life circumstances suddenly improved, but because she took back control of her inner state. She reclaimed her happiness from the chaos around her. That's the secret. Happiness doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. It can be quiet, steady, and deeply real. So every morning when I face the mirror and remind myself I'm responsible for my own happiness, I'm making a conscious decision. I refuse to blame. I refuse to wait for someone else to make me happy. I refuse to let my environment dictate my emotions. Happiness is not a gift you stumble upon, it's a choice. A practice. A daily act of courage. So let me ask you today, what will you choose? Are you ready to take responsibility for your own happiness? If you are, leave a comment. I choose to take responsibility for my own happiness. I'd love to hear from you, and tell me, what's one small thing that brought you joy today? 10. I have control over my thoughts and emotions. Life is full of surprises, and not all of them pleasant. Some mornings you wake up to a message that instantly knocks you off balance. A careless remark from a colleague lingers in your mind all day. A disapproving look, a sudden setback, even something as trivial as a traffic jam, and suddenly your peace feels shattered. But here's the truth. None of these things actually control you unless you let them. The Stoics uncovered a principle so simple, yet so freeing. You can't control what happens outside, but you can always control how you respond. And that is where true freedom lies. Your mind is sacred ground, and you alone hold the key. Picture this. You're walking to work, and out of nowhere, a stranger shouts insults at you. Immediately, your face burns, your chest tightens, your emotions flare. That's the instinctive response. But what if, instead of reacting automatically, you paused? What if you took a breath, stepped back, and asked yourself, when you stop and ask yourself, do I really want to hand over control of my emotions to this stranger? That's when the shift happens. You realize strength is not about reacting the loudest or the fastest. Strength is the ability to choose. Being in control doesn't mean you bury or suppress your feelings. It means you watch them, understand them, and then respond with intention. Anger may rise, but instead of letting it drive you, you let calm take the wheel. Disappointment may sting, but instead of complaining, you reframe it and ask, what can I learn here? What perspective am I missing? Every morning when you affirm this truth, you are reminding yourself of your deepest power. No person, no random event, no piece of bad news can take your peace unless you hand it over willingly. And here's what matters most. You always have a choice. Even when the outside world is messy and unpredictable, your inner world can remain steady and unshaken. Say it with me right now. I am in control of my thoughts and emotions. Today I choose peace, positivity, and strength. 11. I deserve success and happiness. There is a quiet truth many people spend their whole lives running from. You deserve happiness and success exactly as you are. No conditions, no checklist, no need to prove yourself to anyone. Yet, from childhood, we've been taught a different story. That we must struggle first, sacrifice endlessly, pass through some invisible test before we can finally earn the right to rest, to smile, to feel joy. No wonder success and happiness often feel like distant prizes reserved only for the chosen few. But Stoicism dismantles that lie. It reminds us that our worth doesn't depend on external approval, status, or some mythical finish line. Your worth is inherent. It comes from how you see yourself, from the fact that you exist. Nobody can take away your right to a meaningful life. Nobody can revoke your chance to live with love, purpose, and achievement. You don't need to beg for happiness. You don't need to convince anyone that you're worthy of success. You already are. So let go of that inner critic whispering. You're not smart enough, not strong enough, not good enough. Because the truth is you are enough, right now. Exactly as you are. Pause here. Really feel that truth in your chest. You don't have to earn the right to be loved. You don't have to achieve first in order to be accepted. Worth is not something you chase. It's something you realize within yourself. And when you begin to walk through life with that awareness, open-hearted, grateful, and confident, the world begins to shift around you. Opportunities appear, relationships deepen, the universe reflects back the energy you give. So each morning, declare, I deserve success and happiness, and I welcome both with gratitude. 12. I choose gratitude over complaint. When the world is still quiet in the morning and you're standing at the doorway of a new day, you face a choice. You can't step into the day with heaviness, focusing on everything that isn't perfect, every goal you haven't achieved, every gap between you and where you wish to be. Or you can choose gratitude. Gratitude isn't denial. It doesn't pretend hardship doesn't exist. Instead, gratitude is a conscious decision to notice what is already here, to see what's good, what's simple, what's present, and let that recognition lift your spirit. When you choose gratitude, you step out of the mindset of scarcity and into a mindset of abundance. Gratitude doesn't require you to have everything. It only asks that you recognize what is already in front of you. A warm cup of tea, a kind message from someone you love, one deep and steady breath filling your lungs. Each of these is a small miracle, but you can only see it when you look through the eyes of gratitude. In that very act of choosing, you reclaim power over your own mind. Complaining is easy, it's almost a reflex. Gratitude, however, is courage. It requires awareness, presence, and strength. Think of Nick Vujicic. Born without arms or legs, yet he became one of the most inspiring speakers in the world. He could have lived bitter, endlessly comparing himself to what he didn't have. But he didn't. He chose gratitude, grateful for a strong heart, for breath in his lungs, for the chance to be alive and share his story. Nick once said, I can choose to be bitter, or I can choose to be better. And that choice made him a beacon of hope for millions. So tomorrow morning, when you stand in front of the mirror, remember this. You always hold that same power. Instead of saying, ugh, it's Monday, try, thank you for another chance to live, to learn, to love, and to try. Gratitude won't erase your challenges, but it will change the way you carry them. And when you change, your world begins to change with you. So here's a challenge. Leave a comment below. Today I choose gratitude, and share the very first thing you're grateful for this morning. You never know, your words might be the spark that inspires someone else's day. 13. I am growing every day. Growth isn't a single dramatic moment when everything shifts at once. It's not like waking up one morning as a brand new person. Real growth is quieter, slower, more subtle than that. It's a series of small, consistent choices you make each day. And yes, there will be mornings when you wake up and feel stuck. When you look at your life and wonder, have I changed at all? Or am I still the same? In those moments, I want you to pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself, growth doesn't always make noise. Growth might look like choosing not to react immediately when someone insults you. It might be forgiving quietly, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. It might be sitting down to write a plan, even when nobody asked you to. It might even be something as simple as drinking more water, sleeping on time, or refusing to postpone your life for someday. All of those quiet decisions, they count. They are proof you are growing, even without applause or recognition. I remember a friend once telling me, I just want to give up, because it feels like everything I'm doing is invisible. But a few months later, she realized she was no longer afraid of rejection, no longer weighed down by small frustrations. That was her proof of growth. Epictetus once said, no great thing is created suddenly. Every achievement takes time, and so do you. So every morning, don't wait for some big miracle to arrive. Be the miracle by making one small choice better than yesterday. And when you feel slow, tired, or unsure of yourself, tell yourself, I am growing every day, and every step is bringing me closer to the best version of who I am. And once you find steady ground on that path of growth, another question naturally arises. If I don't need to become anyone else to feel whole, am I already enough? That is the truth we will explore in the final part, an idea so simple it might just free you from the heaviest burden you've been carrying. 14. I am complete in myself. In a world that constantly whispers in your ear, you need to be more skilled, more attractive, more successful. It's easy to forget one simple, yet powerful truth. You are enough. Not after you achieve something, not once you finally become someone else, but right here, right now, exactly as you are. I know there are mornings when you wake up and feel like you're not enough. You scroll through social media and see people who seem happier, richer, more accomplished, but that's an illusion. What you don't see is the private struggles they carry, the wounds they hide, and the same silent comparisons that weigh on their hearts too. The truth is, you're not in a race with anyone. Your journey is one of a kind. Your worth does not come from being admired or recognized. It comes from the courage to be yourself fully, honestly, unapologetically. I once spoke with a young painter who was on the verge of giving up. She believed her work wasn't good enough because it didn't sell like others. But after months of reflection, she realized painting was never about competition. It was about expression. It was about pouring her soul into canvas. And the moment she painted from love instead of fear, her art began to move people. She didn't change to fit the world. She grew strong because she realized she was already enough. So tomorrow morning, when you face yourself in the mirror, don't just search for flaws. Look directly into your own eyes and say, I am already whole. I don't need to fix myself to be accepted. I don't need to achieve anything more to be worthy of love. This sense of wholeness isn't arrogance, it's deep acceptance. It doesn't stop you from learning or growing. Instead, it frees you to grow from a place of love, not from a place of lack. And when you live from that place of inner wholeness, the world responds not because you've become someone else, but because you've finally become fully, authentically yourself. And those are the powerful affirmations you can say to yourself every morning, not just to start your day, but to gradually build a life of peace, strength, and intention. I believe that change begins with you, with the words you choose to whisper to yourself. Thank you for being here and for listening. If this video brought you value, please click like, share it with someone you care about, and leave me a comment. I choose to live with intention. And don't forget to subscribe to Stoic Capsule and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next video. Until next time, take care, and remember, you are already enough.